Hello, we're back. I'm David Cooper from ePianos, Genos Tipsters, Tyros Tipsters and Whitley Bay Organs. And that goes to show if you start something too fast, you're never going to keep up with yourself. So the big tip there is perhaps I should have gone a bit slower. And that's something I want to talk about today is styles, how we use them, how fast we use them, and also recording. A lot of people have been asking us about recording. Let's see who's joined us so far. Thanks for all of you who've been joining us through this week. Hi to, let's have a look. Let's go from the beginning. Well, truth, loads of you here today, making me even more nervous. Okay, Michael Harvey, thanks for joining us. Novice Genos player. We're all novice Genos players, I think. Dennis Noble, fix the pedal settings so that they do not change when selecting different registrations. Yeah, we can do that for you. Dennis, no problem at all. Dennis Noble, a question about EQ settings. Okay, we can do EQ as well. Michael Harvey, hi Michael. So we'll ask the same question as Dennis about EQ. We did EQ yesterday on Tyros 5. There's a bit different controls on the Genos, so we'll go through that today and explain it for you. Hi Brian Holt, good to see you last week. Alan Arneson, looking forward to the show. Thank you, Alan. Tommy, hi folks. Aberdeenshire, drizzly. Oh dear, we've got some drizzle coming outside. In fact, it's got a bit dark, so we have to close the curtains so you can see us clearly with the lights. Royal Organs, home organ sounds, vibrato set to max. Okay. Terence Parker and David and the Cool Gang. Thank you very much, Terence. Ian Thomas from Crew. Hi, Ian. You enjoying the Genos? Genos are great. I mean, we all enjoy playing them, don't we? Mike Harvey from Stockton-on-Tees. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us. Albert de Grief, thanks for coming back again. Let's have a look. And Andy Long from Newbury. Hi, Andy. Tony Lewis from Neaton. Peter Carrington from Norfolk. There's so many of you to say hello to. I'm sorry. Simone Blackburn, good afternoon from Mansfield. Tommy from Aberdeenshire. Yeah, you probably are one of the furthest. John from Northwich. Are you watching? Looking forward to it again. That's good. Carol Palfrey from Chelmsford. Hi, Carol. Richard Medway. Looking forward to another session. Peter Carrington. Well, we'd love to see you in the showroom, Peter, if you can come and see us soon. Felix Doe, Alan Bourne, thank you. Terence Parker, thanks Terence. And Missouri, I think you beat the Aberdeenshire people. Missouri, Alan Hickman. And is there a way to get a strumming guitar voice? Yes, there is actually. Yeah, you can get a strumming guitar voice with the Harmony Echo feature. We'll try and cover that as well. So we're going to start off today with going through some recording. I know some of you have done it. It always gets you a bit more nervous, and it'll probably make me a bit more nervous recording it for myself, recording it for you. But what we're going to do is we want to go through some of the ways that you can record into the Genos, and you can either do it as a one take, or you can do it where you record in track by track. The one take is a bit easier because you literally just go with it, and if you make a mistake you start again. You can do track by track, and again you can go in and edit them or redo them. But you've got two big recording features in the Genos. The first one is the Midi record, and that means it's basically taking the information from which notes you played, how fast, how much you pressed on the notes, and which voice you had turned on, and it's keeping all that information, but it's not actually really listening to what you did. So if you were to play a Midi recording or record one on here and take it to another Genos or another instrument, it could be a Korg or a Roland, it would still take what you played, but it would use their own voices. So it's only as good as the keyboard or the computer sound card that you played it back on. So if I record something with amazing Genos sounds and I record it into the Midi recorder, it won't actually hear the Genos sounds. It only records what notes I played. Whereas if we use the audio recorder, which is WAV and MP3, it listens a bit like the old tape recorders where you press play and record, and it listens to the actual sound. So the big thing to remember is if you're recording MIDI, whatever sound of the keyboard you used, it will find the nearest sound on whatever you play it back in. So if you were to send a MIDI file to someone who played it back on their computer, it won't sound anything like a Genos. It will sound inferior because the Genos sounds are brilliant and most computer sound cards aren't going to be quite as good. If you do it as an audio record, then it's going to be as good as the speakers you're playing it back on, but it will sound exactly like the sounds and the styles and all those things that your keyboard has. So an audio record listens to what your speakers are sounding effectively, and the MIDI record is which notes you played, how long for, and then it will play them back on whatever voices that it has available to it on the voice player that you're using. Whether it's another Genos, it will sound the same then, but it might be you're playing it back on a Tyros or something else. So you've got to think, although you can play them back on earlier models, they won't necessarily sound as good. So what we want to do for recording, we've got a button on the panel just above the transpose feature, which is called recording. And if I press that now, you'll see on the screen we've got 4 options. We've got the 2 for MIDI, which is quick record and multi-recording. And then we've got audio, quick record and multi-recording. So I'm going to use MIDI first of all. And the way the MIDI works is that it will do a one take, which is your quick record, or multi, where you can add lots of tracks together. So if we do a quick record, that will then allow us to play something in, and it will play it all back to us. Now, because I've just been using that setting for American Patrol, be it too fast, then we can use that to now be our setting just to record something in and let you see how it works. So when I go onto this screen that you can just see now, it's got the timer ready on 1.1, and I think that's the bar number actually that it's going to use, because it's doing it as a MIDI. It's going to put it all into bars for us. The record is flashing because we've gone into the record feature, and it says touch, play, pause, or play the keyboard to start recording. So if you've got the keyboard and you start playing automatically, it will just start recording, and that's going to be a bit different to the audio. So I'm just going to put my synchro start. I'm going to put intro 2 on. I'm going to play a few parts of that American Patrol. Now I press stop at the end, and that then saves it into the memory, and then I press the play pause button. No hands. So you can hear that's all in the memory, and that's recorded that for me. Now at the end of that, if I want to keep it, we have to go in and save that recording. So I've got a one take, it's called a quick recording, and it's called it new song at the moment, but I want to call it my own title. So I'm going to press the save at the top of the screen, which is just on this right hand side here, save. There's like an arrow down to a disk drive, so if we press save, and then we've got to decide where we want it to save. Now at the top there's a little thing that shows you it's a MIDI recording. If you look right at the top, there's like a little tic tac. We want that to be to the right to say MIDI, and we can choose the user memory, or you might have a USB stick number 2, the second one you've plugged in after the one that's keeping all the information. I'm just going to use the user memory because it's still quite powerful memory. So I'm going to use the user memory, and I'm going to go save here. And then it asks me to name the song. We've got the typewriter comes up. I'm going to hold delete down to get rid of all the old letters, and I'm just going to type in there with a capital. I've got a capital letter bottom left goes green or turquoise, and I'm going to put capital A, and then I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to put MERIA. Get the type in right. RICA. And I'm going to put American Quick, because I use quick record. Okay, and then just OK at the end, and there it is. It's named it for me now. And if I want to find that in the song area to come back and play it at a later date, if I'm in the main area, I go to the song A and B section in the middle of the keyboard here, or I can press the song button on the panel, and if I press that, we've got 2 places it will be. Audio, if it was an audio recording, or I can slide this little tic tac along to MIDI, and there's my song, American Quick. So this little bit at the top here, audio or MIDI, is quite important, because if you've got it set to MIDI, none of the audio ones will show, and if it's set to audio, none of the MIDI will show. So you've got to go to the right area to find the song you've played. So that was a quick record. That was not an audio, it was a MIDI record, and we used the quick record, which is just one take and it's done. And then you can name it and save it if you wanted to, or you could just come out of that and it wouldn't save it. It would say, do you want to save it? No. And it would just remind you. A lot of people are scared by this thing of, do you want to do this and do you want to do that? You've just got to think, is it something you've just done that you want to keep? If it isn't, then just come out of it. If it's something that you've adjusted and you've changed, then yes, you do want to save it, and you want to leave it the same name if you're going to make some changes to it, or you want to rename it if you want to have it as an extra file. So that's really important. So we've now made a MIDI recording. We did it in one take and we saved it with a name, and that's it. Now if we want to put in lots of different parts together, then we can use a multi-track MIDI recording, and this allows us to put in parts and parts and parts and parts, up to 16 different parts. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some sounds in first. So if you're going to make a recording of your own, I'm going to actually put the sounds into my registration area first, so that when I come to do my recording they're already ready. Because the one thing is, when you're in the recording area, you kind of want to stay in there. You want everything to be ready just to keep adding your tracks rather than saving it and coming out all the time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the registration buttons that are just along the front here. And some of you may have already done this, but we can save a set of registrations which we call blank, so that when we come to them we've got a fresh blank area where there's nothing to get confused with which ones we've already made. So to do that, we go into the registration bank area to see if we've already got one, or if you may have known you've got one. Press the two registration buttons together, the black shiny ones, and I've got one here called blank that I've already made. But if you didn't have one, you can turn the keyboard off and you can hold down the second note down, which is a black key on the Genos, and when you turn it back on again it will come up with a blank set, and we've just stored it as a name blank so that we can find it again rather than to turn it off every time, especially while I'm recording. I don't really want to mess anything up with the settings. So I've got a blank set. When I choose that, it says the current set has been changed. Do you want to save them? No, I don't save. And now I've got a blank set along here that I can come into, and I can use those for my own settings. If you've been working on lots of these different settings yourself in the past, you've got to make sure you save them at the end, else they'll just be lost forever. So the big thing is to, if you're going to use a blank set, make sure you save, if you wanted to, anything that was already in there, else you'll lose it. Okay, so I've got my blanks. There's nothing in here at the moment, and that's just because I want to do some recording and I find it easier to put some sounds in. Now I'm going to record something without the rhythm section, and I'm going to make my own drums to go with it. So if you're any of you that do your own recordings and build up the tracks, some of you may have already know this, I don't know, but I'm going to turn off the accompaniment button and I'm going to turn off the OTS link button, so that I've got no sort of accompaniment set into it, and I'm going to choose some voices that I'm going to use for my tracks, and I'm just going to do a little sort of jazzy little twiddly bit for you to see how it works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, in my first button that's blank at the moment, I'm going to put in a piano sound. So I'm going to go to my voices, so I'm going to exit back to the main screen. I'm going to go in to make sure I've only got one piano sound turned on. Now this is something that a lot of people have asked me about, and that is you've got three sections, right 1, right 2 and right 3. Now you can turn them on and off from the main screen. So where it says right 2, I'm going to press it and it goes out, and that means that that's turned off the voice in right 2, and right 3, press it, that turns that one off. So I've only got one voice selected now, and when I want to change a voice I can use the controls on the far right of the instrument, but I'm going to choose the picture of the voice that I've got turned on, and I've got turned on right 1. So when I press the picture, that goes into selecting a voice for that section. Now I'm going to choose the piano section, and there's my piano. It's a nice piano, the CFX Concert Grand, so that's fine. I'm going to memorize that, and I've got the voice selected in memory, so I know it's going to be saved, and I'm going to memorize it into number 1, and that's now stored my piano. Now the second voice I want to put in is a bass. I'm going to put a double bass, so I'm going to go to my bass voices, and I'm going to choose on page 2 acoustic bass. Okay, and I'm going to memory number 2. Then I'm going to put in my third instrument, I'm going to put in a trumpet. So my brass section, I'm going to go to my big band trumpet and memorize number 3. Then I'm going to go to clarinet in woodwind. There's my clarinet chosen. I'm going to memory number 4. And finally I'm going to choose a drum kit, which I'm going to use in number 5. So I'm going to go to my drum kit section, and I'm going to go to just a standard drum kit on page 3, and I'm going to memorize that into number 5. So far so good. So I'm not going to actually bother to save these settings, because once I finish my recording I won't need them anymore. But the idea is I've got my voices selected, so when I go into the recording area I don't have to keep coming out of it again, and that makes it much easier. Now I'm going to put 5 tracks in using these 5 instruments just to build up a little combination of these sounds, and you can do something that you're perhaps more familiar with, but this, you'll get an idea of how to do it and how it works. So I'm going to exit back out now, come back to my main screen. I'm not going to bother saving them, but they're in there and I can use them, and they're all ready to go. So let's go in now to the recording section again. On the main panel, the recording just above transpose, I'm going to press recording, and this time I'm going to go multi-recording MIDI. Okay, and now you'll see there's quite a screen on here with 16 different pictures of whatever instrument will be selected, the 16 channels, and I've got record underneath each of them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to individually record 5 different tracks, and to do that I press below the track that I want to record so that the record lights up. So I'm going to press record just below track 1, and you'll see it's gone red now on the screen, and I'm going to choose the sound that I want to use first, and I can choose, and the picture will change on the screen. So I've got my drum kit, which I don't want. I'm going to just go through and see it goes clarinet, trumpet, and you can see this little icon picture changing, double bass. There we go. So I've got my first sound, and then I can set my metronome to give me a bit of timing, just to make sure me keeping it to the same bars each time. So I'm going to go into my metronome, turn it on the screen, and you'll see the picture goes green, and that's too fast, so I'm going to slow it down with my tempo, and the tempo comes on the screen here. So I'm doing that on the panel just next to transpose. So we'll get that down to a suitable speed. So I've chose, let's go to 110. Okay, so I've got my speed set right. I've got my first recording ready to go. I've got my double bass selected from my preset I've made in registration 2, and I'm just going to record into it now. So I keep my beat going in my mind, so I've got the timing right. Okay, so that's now recorded it, and I can press stop at the end with this white square, and that's in there. Let's have a listen back to it. That's fine, it's in there. Okay, that's good. So I've got my first track. Let's go on to track 2 now. We've got the first track chosen. I'm going to go to track 2, and I'm going to press record at the bottom of track 2, and I'm going to choose my piano sound. Now, we put the piano into button number 1, but we can see the icon. It's currently a double bass. Change that to it, and you'll see the piano come up because we've chosen it in advance. And now I'm going to play some piano to it. You can use one hand or two hand, whatever you like. Really bad. I'm going to do that again actually, because my timing was awful and I didn't use the metronome that I used the first time round. So let's just press record again, turn the metronome on, and then I'll try and do it better. Okay, so we've now got 2 tracks recorded. Let's listen to those back. Both in there. Almost right. Okay, so let's put my trumpet part in now. We've got the 3rd track. I've chosen my voice already, so I'm going to make the 3rd track go to record, and it goes red. And then I'm going to go to my trumpet sound, and the picture comes up in the icons are really useful actually, because it means we can see which sound we've got kind of in the wings waiting to play. And I'm not going to put my trumpet on. I'm going to use my pitch bend at the same time that we went a bit about on the Tyros yesterday. Okay, so we've now got the 3 tracks, and we press the white square to stop that 3rd track from recording, and then we're going on to the 4th track. So 4th track, and we've got the wrong sound, so I'm going to go to my next sound, which is my clarinet, and we can now play the clarinet. And as soon as I start playing, it will start. There we go, and stop that one with the white square. And finally, I'm going to put some drums in. Now, the drums are a bit more of a an interesting one, because all the keys, if you choose one of the drum kits, all the keys become a different drum sound. So when I choose my drum sound on the button number 5, they all sound different instruments. You've got to practice and work out where these drum sounds are. You could just use a drum track from the rhythm section, but I quite like the idea of playing it in. So I've got here the C, the second C up is a bass drum, and we've got a snare on the E, and we've got hi-hats there, and we've got a cymbal on the C, and so I can record him just with a nice, and that will go along with my recording. So I'm going to try and put that in time with my recording now. I'm going to press record on the 5th track. Now, because we're past the first 4, which link to the voice sections, we've got to make sure that we've got the correct voice selected. So when we go to record on the 5th track, it's set to multipad at the moment, and because I'm using a 5th voice, I've got to make sure that is set to the correct voice section, which is I've put all the voices into voice right 1. So when I go to the picture of the multipad, I can change it back to right 1, and then OK, and that means now that it will show me my drum kit and it's ready to use the voice that I selected. So I've got to line my fingers up, and let's try and play that along. It's ready. It's sort of synchronizing the start, just like the rhythm section would be. So I'm going to try and play along with my drums. Okay, and a cymbal at the end, and then the white square. So we've now got 5 tracks recorded into our recording device. It's multi-track and it's MIDI, and that means all the information for everything is recorded. Let's hear it back and see how bad it sounds. Okay, so you get the gist of it. You can add loads of things together, and we could use all 16 tracks. The more you add in, the bit messier it gets, because you've got to be so close in your timing, get all the right mixtures of sounds and balance and things, but you can get the gist of it. It's quite easy to do, and it makes it quite a fun thing. You could do it with just 2 tracks, whatever you wanted to do, but it makes it quite interesting. And to add parts together, hear yourself play something back is a really good thing to try. So I would recommend you do that. Now at the end of it, we've got to save it. So back to the screen, if we go to the save at the top here, the little disk drive with a picture arrow down, we've got our previous one, which was a MIDI track we saved. I'm going to go save here. I'm going to delete the old letters by holding delete down, and this time I'm going to go to my capital, and we'll put in there we've got it mess impro, and then that was a multi-record. We used that, so okay, and that's going to give us the name now, Mess Impro, and we've got that all recorded. And when we come out, we can go back to the main screen, and to find it, it will be in one of these 2 song ones. So song B is the MIDI songs. It's got MIDI next to it, and we can see we've got both the 2 that we recorded, American Quick, and we can play that on the blue button on the side of the keyboard in the recording area. That was the first one I did. And if we come out and go into the second one, press the blue button on the panel. So they're very easy just to bring back in and listen to them back again. And you can go in and edit them and things if you wanted to, but it's a really good way of doing it. So I would recommend having a fiddle with a recording. It's a really good feature. Let's have a listen to some of your comments now. Let's see what anyone's put. Okay, Patrick McNally, adjusted the EQ after yesterday's session, huge improvement. Yeah, the EQ is an interesting one, Patrick. I'm pleased you've managed to find that. It does make a big difference. Let's see where we got to. So Malcolm Atkinson, hi Malcolm from Hull, nice to have you with us. John Harding from Richmond in Surrey, hi John. Paddy from Bangor, yeah, I know you're in Bangor, miles away. Let's have a look. Genos man, hi David, how's you? I'm fine. How's Scotland? Is it all okay? Paul Ashby, hi from Egham, hi Paul. Been watching all broadcasts, couldn't mention my laptop, so now a bit behind, you have to catch up, yeah. Okay, so we've got or in our vote so far, then 75% of you heard through an email about this. That's good. Alan Hickman, in your multi-track recording, can you go back and adjust the level of each instrument? Yes, you can. That's a really good question. I probably should be more practiced on this, but you've got a let's have a quick look if I can do it on the fly, or whether I need to go back and practice the answer. So where they are, we've got the recordings, we've got one that we've just programmed in there at the moment, and that's it there, and we can play it back here. So if we wanted to go into the channel area, we could take parts out. In fact, I'll go through something with that in a second. But if we go to the mixer, we could actually change the volumes. The thing I don't know is about saving them. Oh, there's a song area, so you could save them. Let's just try changing one thing. No, I'm going to find out properly. I'll find out properly and I'll tell you next time, rather than try and guess now. But I will find that out for you, Alan. That's a good question. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, under pressure, definitely. Royal Organs, can you show the organ voices? Can you show the differences between home organ, Hammond and theatre? I would like to know if you can show how the organs voices sound with a thick vibrato. Okay, probably the Leslie effect. Michael Harvey, hi David. Are the 3 speakers okay for home use, or would you recommend monitor speakers? I really like the Yamaha speakers that are available. The MSO ones are a really good sound in my opinion. You know, there are lots of other ones on the market. The MSO ones are so suited to Genos. They're about 60 watts, but they sound much louder. And you have the 2 mounted ones and the floor one, which you can adjust the bass. But it is a good sound, and I would say that for the money of around £200 to buy the Yamaha ones, I don't think you'll be unimpressed in any way whatsoever. And I only use the Yamaha ones for use in the shop or anywhere, and I think that they're perfectly adequate and a really good full sound. You can pay thousands on speakers. If you're a real hi-fi fanatic, then you might want to go for some better ones, but I don't think you're going to miss anything by having the Yamaha ones. They're a really good full sound. So personally, I don't think it's that crucial. If you're playing out somewhere, then maybe that's another thought. Okay, nothing at the moment. I have trouble saving registrations. It helps to quantize everything and quantize. Terence Parker, Bill Shorthouse, hi Dave from Bewdley, hi, nice to hear you, Bill. Genos man, yeah, at the moment we're in caravan for 2 weeks. Great tan, I bet you have, yeah. Okay, it's been a hot week, hasn't it? Okay, can give an A1 full keyboard piano sometime. Okay, Andy, I'll get onto that. So one of the things I want to show you in this is that you can revoice what you've got in the rhythm section, and it gives you a totally different sound. So if we would go to any style, we'll keep on that big band jazz actually. If we just go to the big band jazz backing that's on there at the moment, and we go with the rhythm section on, and you'll just hear a backing. That's my recording, isn't it? Let's just get rid of this song a minute. Okay, we'll come out of that. Okay, so if we go to the big band backing, and we just play a simple backing here. Okay, there's my backing that's playing at the moment. In fact, let's use the classic big band. Okay, so that's my full backing that's going on for classic big band. Now what we can do is we can go into that background and we can change the voices of all of that style. So if we go into classic big band and we go to the channel section, you'll see at the bottom of the screen here all the parts of that style that's currently playing. We've got rhythm 1, rhythm 2, bass, chord 1, chord 2, pad, phrase and phrase 2. Now when I'm playing my backing, it actually shows you with a little light on each one which ones are currently playing. So if I just have that playing, we've got the rhythm 2 on, the bass, the chord 2, phrase and phrase 2. So they're all there, and they show you when they're playing at the moment. But what we can do is we can change the sounds that rhythm is actually using. So when I'm playing now, I'm going to change the bass sound first, and we can also turn off the sections of that backing. So if I turn off some of the backings parts at the moment with the green lights, I've just left the bass on now, so the bass is still showing, and you can see I've pressed the green lights for all the other parts of the band. Okay, now if we press the picture of the instrument, we then go into an area where there are voices, and we've got the same voice choices, not quite as many as in the main area, but we can go in and we can change the sound. So there's my bass playing at the moment. Let's change it to pick bass. Let's go to vintage round. Let's go to fretless bass. And then we can change other instruments as well. So although we're in the bass voice section, we could change it to organ or choir, accordion. So we can go through all the instruments. We can find something that we like. Let's go back to bass for now. That's probably the most suitable. And we'll go into acoustic bass. Okay. Then we'll come back out of there with the exit, and we'll go and add the chord in now. And now the chord is now lit up. We'll press the picture of the guitar by chord, and we can change it to a different guitar. Or we go to let's have a go to an electric guitar. Now some of the sounds, they won't quite suit that sort of little riff it's playing, because can we hear that very high note coming through? And that's not really an electric guitar kind of sound, but it's coming through just because of the range of what would be asked to play in that sound. Let's put strings on. Okay, and we've got choir. Okay, and we've got brass. So we can choose what we want to be in there, and then we can go in and exit back out, add another voice. So let's go to the chord second sound. There's a piano playing now. We can change that one. Let's put that with brass. So we can totally change it to what we want. Let's add the next section, the pads. That's the saxophone, Burnham. So we could change those to something different. You can do whatever you like, it's really clever. And then we're going to the phrases. And the drums. Now the other thing we can do is we can decide how loud we want all those instruments to be, because up in the slider section here, in the knob assign section, we've got an area that goes into those same sections. So when I go to slider assign, just next to all my sliders, I can then see the volumes. So now if I put my rhythm section back on again, I can bring them all down, and I can bring back, oh I missed one, I can bring back the ones in their own levels that I want. So we can totally cut parts out, we can totally change the voices, and we can totally blend them to how we want them to be. And that's the beauty of this. There's so many variations on actually making your changes to those things that are going on. So that's a really good thing to get into. We just went to channel, which is the bottom left icon on the screen when it's on the main screen in the typical setup that Yamaha would have left for it. And that gives you all the different tracks that you can bring in and out. So it's worth, do have a fiddle with that. It's amazing what you can get out of a style by changing it to a little bit different, just by tweaking the sounds that are in them. So that was on the channel button at the bottom left of the screen. Have any of you tried that already? Let me know if you've tried it. I'd like to know if you've done these things already, who's recorded already, and also who's actually changed the voices in the style section to get their own version, because you can totally create a different version of that style by changing all the sounds. Who's done it? Let me know. Okay, who shot up beautifully? Milan Georgiev, trying to put a quantizer into a 6/8. Oh, right. Okay, Malcolm Atkinson, hi David, can you tell me how to manipulate the guitar? Sounds like the Shadows Hank Mann guitar. I've tried all sorts, but to no avail on SX 700. Alan Hickman, very valuable information on change instruments in a style. Thank you very much, Alan. Phil Long, hi Phil. Okay, so we can do these things and we can change them. What was the last thing you just mentioned? Was changing instruments in a style, yeah? Manipulate the guitar sounds like the Shadows. There's a really good Shadows setup in here already, and I don't know whether you're unhappy with it or whether you actually want to just tweak it a little bit. Because if we go into the style section, press the orange button on the main screen, and we go into, it's probably going to be old as I expect, we've got a really good Shadows pop, and I think there's a Shadows guitar that it uses. So when we go into Shadows pop and we use the OTS link, which links up the 4 one-touch settings with the 4 ABCD variations, we can then get the sounds that they recommend to go with that style. Now, something we did on Tyros yesterday, and we can do on the Genos here as well if we've got the close-up screen, is we can actually see what voices we're going to get in the one-touch settings from the ABCD buttons or the 1, 2, 3, 4 without actually turning them on, because it's very handy to know what we're going to get rather than just start playing and think, what the hell am I going to get on the next one? So if we go to the menu button at the top of this screen and we go into style information, it shows me the setups and the sounds I'm going to get for that rhythm. So in the case of the 60s shadow pop, number 1 sound from the button number 1 is going to be 60s shadow lead, 60s vintage echo on 2, shadowed guitar on 3, and keynote strings on 4. So I'm not very good at the shadows, but I'll try and play some sounds with those playing in the background. So let's just put an intro on and I'll play my chord. And I'll start with the first one. That break is so good. We've got a muted guitar on B. I'm going to transpose and go to C. Break. Back to the strings. And the muted guitar on B. So the sounds for the shadows are actually quite good that are built into them, but you could tweak the sounds. You've got the opportunity to go in and change the parts of the sound, and I'm not going to go into a big way today, but if you wanted to change the sound, we can choose the voice from our screen. Just go into the voice picture, okay, and there's our sound, and it's currently the electric guitar section. And if we go to the menu button and then we go into voice setting, that allows us to change the octave. But if we go into voice edit, we can actually go in and tweak all the parts of the sound, how much echo, the depth of the echo, the amount of reverb, the sound itself. We can change the cutoff frequencies and the resonance and the attack and the release. So we can go in and change all those sounds. So I'll give you an idea actually. Let's just change a few of those things now. We'll add some release. And we'll go in and change the sound a little bit. So the cutoff is going to change that sort of brightness. And we'll go into some more. We'll go down a page. We've got vibrato. Oh, that sounds good. It's not the best sound to show you on, but I'll just tweak a few things. And we can tweak the EQ as well. The brightness and the bass. So all these, I'll do it on another instrument in a minute, but we can tweak all those sounds and then we can compare the original. There's little scales at the top here. So this is my new sound. And if I press compare, you can see where it started. So if you want to save that, then you can. We can go save at the top of the screen and we can then go save here and we can call it Vintage Echo 2. So it's a new version and OK. And that will be saved in the user sounds area. Now if we go back to something a bit more straightforward to tweak, let's just come out of that page and we go back to the piano voices in the preset area. Back to preset at the top of the screen here. Let's go into just piano. So we've got a nice piano sound and I'm going to edit it in the same way. I'm going to go to menu. I'm going to go to voice edit. Now it might be I just want to add a bit more sustain into that sound. So I could just go to the sound and I could go up to this and just add some release. I could take some of the attack away. That doesn't change too much. Cut off. That changes it. Resonance. So you'll get used to what each thing does, but essentially we can change it to a sound that we prefer. Let's compare it. So this is my new piano and my original. So I've added some more sustain. Softer now. Compared to the original. Oh, it's my new one. So you can go in and change things. I'm not making it very good because there's a lot more things you can do with the sound, but we can fiddle with them and edit them, and that will make them a lot different. Listen to this. So it's more like a synthesizer, really. And you might just have a certain sort of idea for a sound that you can start off with an original one and move these around. The filters do quite a lot there. More metallic. But you can synthesize the sound. And then at the end, if you want to save it, you press save. And then you go save here. And then OK. In fact, I've got to call it a new name. So it's Grand Piano 2. OK, and that will then store it in as my new user sound. Strings are a good thing. You can just cut off some of the brightness and add a bit of sustain, and it just adds a new version of that sound into your user area. So whenever you want to find your user sounds now, we've got the preset area where all the ones that you're choosing from Yamaha are, and in the user area we've got the sounds that I've just made, the Concert Grand 2 and the Vintage Echo 2. So you can tweak the sounds in the area. Maybe that'll help you to get your electric guitar sound that you want. Okay, so let me just come back to your questions again. Okay, David, you made it where the keyboard volume is much lower than your voice. Okay, let me turn the keyboard volume up a little bit more then. That's my other sounds. Okay, we'll make it a bit louder. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully that hasn't affected too many people. After a multi-record, can you explain what normalize does? Normalize? No, I can't, Colin. I'll find out for you. Normalize, I will find out that for you. Okay, yes, I did some changing as you were showing it. Great info. Thanks, Alan. Peter Carrington, I didn't realise the Genos could do multi-tracking. Sadly, I sold my Genos without knowing. I will seriously think about seeing you, David. Very informative. Terence Parker, yes, tried it on an SX900, slightly different on setup, but still good. That's great, Terence. Stephen Johnson, just from shopping trip, she must be made. We won't catch up later. Shadows number, great. Thanks, Stephen. So yeah, you've got to keep your wife happy. Okay, so let's go on to some other stuff that you can do. I do want you to share your favourite styles with me still. So if you've got a style that you particularly get on well with, and you really love, that you think we might not have found ourselves, I'd love to know where they are and what they are, because we might be able to learn from those ourselves. And also, if you're enjoying this, there's a little place you can put a thumbs up tick to say you like what we're doing, and then we'll be encouraged to do more of these shows if it's going to be of some help to you. So anything you want us to teach you or help you about that I can and know, then I will, but we need to know what those things are that might be interesting to you. Okay, so we've covered recording so far. We've also covered going to the styles and editing the voices, and we've covered some other stuff as well with regard to bringing the volumes of the parts of the styles up and cutting out parts of the style that you don't want to use. Okay, let me just see. I put down here, I've got something else to show you, which is to use different speeds for your styles. Now, I've got some styles that I've been going through and I'd like to share with you. Let me just get them up on here. If I can, here we go. So these are styles which I'd like you to try, perhaps yourself, if you'd like to. And changing the speed on a style can make a huge difference. Now, there's a lot of styles on here that I would go to, and because they're so fast, I would think, oh, I'm not going to use that one, and I'll use straight to something else. So what I want to suggest to you is that you look at speeds that are too fast for you and half them, because the styles that have very fast, full-on backings are often a bit scary to use, but the same style can be used at half the speed. So all we're doing is we're making it fit into a bar differently, but we're going to use the same backings of the style. So the first one I want to show you is one called French Jazz. Now, the way you can search for a style, if you're not sure which section to find it in, if you go into the orange section, we have the magnifying glass at the top of the page here, and if I press the magnifying glass and then I go into this top, just clear the letters in the top bar here, it will then give me a typewriter to use. And I'm just going to type in French, French, okay, and it's found it's actually found 7 with French in it, but I'm going to go into French jazz, and I'm going to press OK to select it. So I've now got my French jazz backing. Now if you listen to it, the speed is actually at 232, so it kind of runs away too fast with you. Let's have a listen. So you've got to play quite fast to keep up with that. And what I'm going to suggest to you is you try it at half the speed. So instead of doing it at 232, which is what it's playing at, let's take that down to 1. I'm going to put it at 116. So I'm just going to press the tempo and take it down on the screen to 116. It doesn't have to be exactly half, but just to give you an idea, that's going to be roughly where the style will still work very well. So I'm going to use the backings just like they are, and I'm going to play on A, B, C and D. Let's just see what it sounds like. Much more manageable, and it sounds nice because you hear all these sounds. A little bit faster. Let's see what the next one is. Okay, so that's just another way of using it, and it means it's much more manageable. It goes on fast, rushing on without you, and just by halving the speed you can still use it and get all those nice sounds. Let's try another one. I've got one called Jump Jive. Now if I do a search and we go to clear the old words and we type in JUMP, okay, Jump Jive's there, we go in the jazz section, and I'm going to go OK. Now Jump Jive's at 200, so yeah, I'm going to put it down to around the 100 mark. Let's bring the speed down, as it is at the moment. It's a great one, but it's just quite a fast one. So let's bring the speed down. We can still use the same style, but we can use it at a much more manageable speed. So let's try that now. Works very well for green door I've put down. So. That's another way on, that's the one, the Jump Jive that's called. Another one I've got down here is Instrumental Jazz, and this is one that I never use, and I found these notes, and see what you think to using it like this. So instrumental, type it in right. Got to spell instrumental right, haven't we? Instrumental jazz. There we go. So listen to it normally. Would have a hope of playing at that speed. So instrumental jazz is currently at let's see what speed it's at. Oh, I've lost it again. Instrumental jazz, select and OK. Okay, and it's currently at 218, so I'm going to bring it down to just over 100. Okay, and let's see what that sounds like now. Much nicer, and a nice sort of full walking bass backing. Enough. So you get the idea. You can slow it right down and it still works very well, and it gives you a little bit of a different feel to that style. And I've got just a couple more to show you on here. Big Band Jazz is one that's really good, but again goes full on all the time. So if we speed it down to 100, let's take the speed down, and then we'll do the same again with this one. Okay, so let's put a trombone on. Okay, so there's another one to try. So do get trying these. Another rhythm, one more to do, which is band vowels, which I've never even used properly as a proper style. But B-A-N-D. You're probably all band vowels users, but band, V-A-L-S. I've got this from another instrument, so it's not going to be in this one. Band vowels is one from a Tyros, so I'll leave that one out. But let's go on to some other stuff. Let's see what your questions now say to us. Any more things that we can help you with? Let's have a look. Okay, 8-beat is a good one. Let's try 8-beat in a minute. I use the groove section in Style Creator. Yeah, there's a really good feature called Groove Selection, which I won't go into today, but you can actually change the emphasis on where the beats are in a style, and that's quite a clever thing that you can change, and I'll do something on that another week, Paul, just to show people how that works. But the idea is you can have a typical rhythm style and you can move the emphasis of the beat so it sounds very different, and that's a great thing to get fiddling with. Tempo from 128 is good to half to 74. You did it once on a Beatles song when we joined in, and Charlie edged all the villas. Great fun. That's true. So Terence Barker, yes, you can use it on all styles, and sometimes it just gives you a different feel and it's a bit more manageable. How do you alter the keyboard EQ similar to the smiley face? Okay, John, we'll do that next actually. And Alan Hickman, that French jazz slowed down makes a good style for Alicat. Yes, it would work well for Alicat. Okay, so if we wanted to do the EQ settings that we did on a Tyros yesterday, you can go in and you can change the way that the speakers are projecting the sound, the way that the bass and the treble are set on your keyboard. Now, Yamaha on the Tyros used to have it that you had different settings for different kinds of speakers, whether it's for a PA system or whether it was for the Yamaha speakers or different ways like that. So you could choose which types of speakers you're using. But what they've done now is they've changed it. And on the Genos now, the way that you can go in to tweak it is that you can have a very loud setting or a soft setting or a mellow setting, and you can make your own version of that. And it's quite a clever way to tweak the sound to give you a sort of a different effect that might suit your ears better, or if you're a real sort of out there wanting the big full pounding sound, you can put more brightness or more bass into it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into the sound itself and just see how we can change it. Now if we go into the let me just remember where this is. If we go into the mixer section, that's one of the choices at the bottom of the screen here, and then we go into master. Okay, we've now got the master EQ for the whole keyboard. And what we can do on here is we can see that it's set to flat on mine at the moment. I expect yours is probably set the same on yours. So flat is the EQ setting. If I press that box, we can see we have a choice of flat, mellow, bright, loudness, powerful, and we've got some user settings that you can put your own into. So if we keep it on flat, I'm just going to play with a standard piano. Let's just come out to piano. We're on there at the moment, and that's my standard preset piano. Yep. Mixer control back to flat, and if I just play it with no rhythms at the moment, now if I go back and try and change this, we'll see how much you can hear the difference through your own speakers. Mellow will just soften it. Compared to flat. Bright. So bright's taken all the treble parts up and it's much more shrill now. So we haven't tweaked any of the sounds. All we've done is we've changed the way that the speakers are sending out the information. Loudness is the next one. Now that actually had a bit more power to your output because it's putting all the graphic EQ higher. Okay, and then we've got powerful. Now that's changed it totally. We've got a lot more middle and bass now. And if I go back to flat again, much slower, quieter. And it's a thinner sound too. So we've got all these changes. I'll just play one chord and go through. So what I'm going to do is there's a setting that we've used on keyboards for many years where we call it the smiley face, and that's what some of you are referring to from a video we did on Tyros yesterday. And what that does is it brings in the bass and the treble to a higher amount, but it keeps the middle parts, which is the sort of the dull inside bit, at a lower level. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my, I've got 6 frequencies along the middle here that we can change, and I'm going to change my first one here, and I'm going to change it to, I'm going to put it up to 7. Okay, then my next one I'm going to change to 5. And this isn't right for everybody. It might be that your ears don't like it or you don't agree. I'm going to go 2 in the middle, and I'm going to go 2 again. We can just use the data wheel to change it. Then we can go to 5 again. And then I'm going to go 7 on the end. Okay, so I've got my settings now, 752.257, and I'm going to save that setting now. So I press my picture of my disk drive with the arrow to save it, and I'm going to call it user 1, and I'm going to go save. I can actually name it here, so I'm going to use it user DC. Okay, and that's now called it user 1 DC. So this is my newfound piano sound. Now if I go back and change that to flat, and if we use the rhythm section with it, let's put the rhythm section on. So that's flat at the moment. If we change that now, there's loudness, powerful, user DC. So it's making a change to the sound by bringing in the bass and the treble, but it's not bringing in the actual the middle part of it. And we've got more controls lower down, but I've just gone through the EQ on here, so we can go through and tweak things, and they'll just make a difference to the sound. Now you might not find it makes a difference on your own speakers, or you might find it makes a big difference, but go in and make those changes and try it out and see how you find it. Okay, so that's on the user EQ, but we can see the settings that it makes. There's more settings at the bottom with gain as well that you can change, but you can see the changes from the bright down to loudness, and that all makes a difference to how things are set. So do have a fiddle with that yourself, both in the gain and the Q section, and try saving them in if you get a good setting that you like. Okay, let's just check your questions. No one else commented. Wow, okay, well we must have bored you. Well, we're coming to the end now. I'd like to say we're going to be back tomorrow again with Genos. If you've got things that you want me to cover tomorrow, do ask. If not, we'll give you some of our own stuff. We have got an offer at the moment. We've got some used, we've got a couple of used Genoses just come in, and they're 3,299. But if you were to upgrade from a Tyros 5, I can currently do the changeover for 1649. So a really good allowance on yours, 1649 to pay to upgrade from a Tyros 5 up to a Genos like this. And that's a really good offer at the moment. And we load it in with lots of things. We give you 600 registrations. We give you another 235 styles that would have been in a Tyros 5. We give you 25 expansion packs, which are these packs that we're talking about that are now free from Yamaha. They take a bit of sorting out to get them loaded in, but we load them in for you. And we also give you lots of registrations that we've made to make it good to get the really good settings. So do join us tomorrow. We'll be here at 2 o'clock again on the Genos. Give us your questions in advance. Put your thumbs up, like on it if you like the video that we've done so far, and we'd be pleased to give you more help in the future. Thanks for joining us. And if you want to get our newsletter, which comes out every Saturday morning, you need to just fill out the form for a newsletter on the website, and then you'll get regular updates with all these that we're doing, and learn about all our next videos and live streams. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you found something useful today, and we'll see you again soon. Be safe. Bye-bye.